and gentlemen, it's Sunday, 1 o'clock Pacific time, and I am your host, Victor Brooks of the Victor Brooks Show Quarantine Series on Facebook Live. And you know what I have to do every time? You know, I'm finally learning my lesson of starting my watch parties, okay? So I'm going on to the Victor Brooks Show page right now, and I am going to begin this watch party of our guest today. Okay, it said that it's already rolling. Fantastic. Welcome, y'all. Thank you so much, Positivity Posse from around the world, that you, every weekend you take your time, you know, to share this positive moment with us. And I can't thank you enough. On behalf of myself, my co-producers, Christopher Brooks, Julie McKnight, and the incredibly talented and wonderful Wendy Vaughn, that join me in this journey every week, you know, that we just take our time to get away from what's happening out here with all of us around the world right now. It's heavy out here, you know. It's no need for me to try to further explain it. We're all experiencing what's going on right now. But this is just our attempt, you know, to bring a positive moment to the world, to just kind of pause back and remember that there's always something to be positive about. There's always something to smile about. You know what I mean? I guess I can't help it. It's in my DNA. I'm a born optimist, you know, a born romantic of life, and being an artist at the same time, it kind of all jumbles up. So I contact certain people who have shared their journeys on our show with us, who I know carry that same feeling of positivity through their artistic journeys, you know, and then they take their time to come on and share it with all of you, our Positivity Posse. Thank you so much in the past to Bill Duke and Chris Play Martin of Kid and Play and Clifton Davis, the legendary himself, Queen Melba Moore, who joined us in the past, and so many others. I thank you, thank you, thank you. You know, we started something last weekend, which was our last Saturday production that we do. And now we're strictly on Sundays at 1 o'clock p.m. And we over the week, the emails have been flooding on how much our Positivity Posse enjoyed Wendy and I coming and reading those positive quotes and those shows of appreciation of life itself. From our Positivity Posse. And I'm going to ask Wendy to come on but before I do, Wendy, let me give this shout out as well. One of our previous guests, our brother Jonathan Slocum, the comedian, one of the kings of clean comedy, as he says. So proud of Jonathan. When he was on the show, if you look at his episode, Jonathan mentioned to us that he's working on a couple of pretty major projects, you know, and one of them he contacted yesterday, and then he started posting his promo yesterday as well for tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time at Sirius XM. Jonathan Slocum is going to he's flooding Sirius XM with his clean comedy, but downright hilarious comedy. So if you don't have Sirius XM, now's the time to get it, y'all. Jonathan Slocum, we love you, man. Congratulations. Much love and much respect to Jonathan Slocum. Sirius XM tomorrow, 5 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Wendy, can you come on for a few minutes, please? And let's talk to our, hey, there she is, y'all.
Hey, how you doing?
How you doing, gorgeous?
I'm doing very well. I'm enjoying this beautiful Sunday, and boy, just ready for today, because you know how I love Miss Freda. I'm like, woo.
I know it. Come on, can you behave? It's such an honor, such an honor. So give me your, what's been happening on your positivity group this week and even today? Who are we talking to? What are we talking about?
You know, today we have so many people. Mom is in the house, Miss Wanda.
Are we talking about Queen Wanda Vaughn of the Emotions in the house?
Yes, we are. She said, Mr. V. Brooks and on ya. That's like, she just went ahead and just wanted to come on, zoom in. And then, of course, we have our fabulous author friends, Salima.
Hey, Salima. Yes,
Yeah.
Sister Salima.
We got Auntie. So we got Chicago in the house, LA. We got Marsha Evans, another phenomenal artist and singer over there in the Midwest.
Wow.
And everybody is, give us your positivity today. We have beautiful Astrid. These are
Yes, Astrid from 17 at 7, the incredible Jazz Foundation and group there in Saint-Denis, France, doing incredible things with jazz music. Hey, how you doing? Merci beaucoup, Astrid. Merci.
Yes, and that's hello from France. Yep, everybody. So everyone's giving their positivity. I think that if we had to say one word today here in the on the LA house side, we'd have to say we are just excited about creativity. That is our positivity today. That's right. Being creative in many ways.
That's right. And you know what? I'm going to give a shout out on my lineup as well. We have, there we go. One of our previous guests that I just mentioned, your other uncle, my brother from another, Clifton Davis, is on as well. Giving love and respect to, he said, love and respect to the incomparable Freda Payne. Yes. Yes. And we have Brazil in the house, from the Antonio Carlos Jobim Society there, much respect. Muito obrigado, brasileiro. Minha família brasileira, muito obrigado por seu tempo hoje. Thank you for your time today. Saudade, Brazil. We miss Brazil. We also have, look at this. We have out of Chicago. We have North Carolina. We have, they're up late. We have over in Germany, they're with us right now. They're coming in, Wendy.
This is wonderful. Man, we even have Larry Dotson. He's yes. I mean, everybody. Everybody. Well,
Larry Dotson of the Boccays.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness.
That's right. Well, Wendy, I'm enjoying the Sunday groove that we're doing now. And I cannot wait to join you this week on your show as well. Please tell me about your kickoff.
Oh my gosh. Well, so working with Uncle Vic, y'all, it has been such a beautiful honor. I've known him and the whole Brooks family for so long and got cousins and stuff. And, but working this closely and seeing the world through his lens of positivity, it really was inspiring for me to be more intentional with the little talk show and things that I do on I Am Wendy with an I. And that platform is dedicated to self-love because, being a creative myself and just the different paths that life has taken, I found that piece of medicine is absolutely imperative to anybody's joy and success, so like the overallness. So you, Uncle Vic, have been such an inspiration, and you totally model that, not even explicitly using those words, but from the different guests you have on and how the conversations go through their careers and also their personal life ups and downs. We need to hear that.
Yes, that's right.
That to me is like we're continuations of the Bible, because those are all the books in the Bible are mostly stories of somebody's life and what their testimony and how we learn. So I just got to have you on, because every time I hear more about your story from the interviews with the guests, and we go, oh yeah, well that's kind of like me, and I'm like, who is Uncle Vic?
I'm just out here that I try to say I'm too blessed to be stressed. That's what I try to say every day. And I'm so thankful for you and my brother Chris and my sister Julie for taking this journey together, so that we can just take this ball of positivity and throw it out there and just, hopefully somebody can. It looks like they're catching it,
It does.
But thank you, Wendy. I love you, girl. Thank you for your time. And thank you, Emotions, from your page, sending your watch party, and everyone else who's there. But we'll check back in. Y'all, I always, every episode too, especially during this time that we're dealing with these two viruses out here. You dig? This is the virus that we all know of, Corona, that's put everybody's life on pause right now. And then that second virus of racism, that's generational, we've been dealing with, especially in the US of A. When it comes to those two viruses, y'all, my first shout out and show of respect of during this time of health crisis are our doctors. our first responders, our people on the ground, our hospital workers, you know, our nurses, everybody that's putting their life on the line to better and try and literally attempting to save the lives of many who are going through this first virus that I'm talking about right now, you know. Much respect to you. I'm even giving respect to our market workers. When it's time to go put that food in our house, those workers are there, you know. I want to give respect to our truck drivers who are still doing their thing. Respect to our sanitation workers. Respect to everyone that's doing what they can do to try to make life as normal as it can be for us during this time. And it's not gonna last, y'all. We're gonna be all right. We're gonna get through this, you dig? And it's gonna take all of us, you know, put that mask on, you know, kind of stay away when we don't have to be around so close, you know, respect that distance thing, and let's do what we need to do to try to push this thing along, you know, so we can get back to the things that we love even more outside of the house, you dig? And on that, I want to shout out to that second virus, once again, to the much respect to the legacy of John Lewis, you know, who in no doubt his journey was one of the journeys that changed the course in so many ways of history in the United States and made that shout out to the world of what's happening here. And it took him and so many of the other heroes, Martin Luther King, and just so many of the generation before us, you dig? And then the generation who are watching of your generation that paved the way of us even having what we have today socially. And there's still a long way to go. That's why I'm so proud of these young people out here protesting, you dig? Nah. Yeah, the riots is not a good thing. Cut the riot off, but protest. Say what's on your mind. If you angry, let us know. If there's a song or artist, you know, I never forget Nina Simone when I was a youngster. We had the privilege of her, and you've heard me say it before, but it's something that stuck with me forever. When she told my sister and I, okay, yeah, you're artist, you write music, but now what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do with your artistry? Come on, artists, write those songs. I cannot wait. Paint those pictures, create those poems, do the movies, do what you need to do. And we're still here. So ladies and gentlemen, I've got a lot of emails as well that you're loving the bio intros that we're doing. And there's a couple of reasons why. It's because the artists and the people that we've had on this show, there is no way, especially today, there's no way to include in a 30 to an hour show of these icons of entertainment and artistry that have taken the time to come and join us. There's no way to fully include that. So I try my best in the intro, you know, as short as we can, but as informative as we can. And I'm going to start today with the one and only Miss Freda Payne. Check this out. The beautiful and multi-talented Freda Payne is best known for her multi-genured singing career through her award-winning recordings of jazz, soul, and pop. But Freda Payne has showcased her talents performing in theater, musicals, and as an actress in several movies during her career. Born Freda Payne in Detroit, Michigan, Freda developed an appreciation of music at an early age, being drawn to such sultry singers as Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, and Billie Holiday. Come on now. Soon, Freda Payne's own musical journey started to blossom as she began early in her career singing radio commercial jingles, which brought the young vocalist to the attention of several music biz heavyweights, one of which was her hometown friend, Barry Gordy Jr., who attempted to sign Freda Payne, but her mother wouldn't agree to it. Additionally, the music legend Duke Ellington, Sir Duke, employed Freda as the featured singer, y'all, with his renowned orchestra for 2 nights in Pittsburgh, resulting in Duke Ellington offering Freda Payne, the teenage Freda Payne, a 10-year contract. But that didn't happen, and we're going to find out why. Amazing story. Throughout the 60s and 70s, Freda Payne's recording career delivered the world that signature, like I like to say, Freda Payne-ness of class, style, and sensuality with albums such as Contact, Reaching Out, Pain and Pleasure, Out of Pain Comes Love, Stares and Whispers, Supernatural High, and Red Hot. Also during this time, Freda Payne was also collaborating with legendary entertainer Sammy Davis Jr. and so many other A-list entertainment industry movers and shakers throughout Hollywood, Broadway, and Europe. Again, proving her multi-talented artistry, Freda Payne then added television to her list of entertainment arenas as she hosted her very own talk show in 1981, Today's Black Woman. Then in the 90s, Payne combined her love of acting and music, releasing her albums, An Evening with Freda Payne and Christmas with Freda and Friends, while also landing roles in such movies as Private Obsession, Sprung, and Ragdoll. Payne continued to balance an acting and music career during the early 21st century as she appeared in 2000 Eddie Murphy's comedy classic, Nutty Professor 2, The Clumps, and the made-for-TV movie Fire and Ice, plus issuing an all-new album in 2001, Come See About Me. In 2009, she appeared on American Idol, performing her signature and timeless hit, Band of Gold, that reached #3 in the US and #1 on the UK charts and stayed there for 6 weeks in September 70, giving Freda her first gold record. Payne also has Broadway credits involving Hallelujah Baby with fellow legend Leslie Uggams. Then in Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Ladies, Ain't Misbehaving, The Blues in the Night, Jelly's Last Jam, as well as the theater plays A Change Is Gonna Come and The Divorce. It's my honor, y'all, to welcome a true Dame of Malta, as you could say, a 2017 inductee to the R&B Hall of Fame, the legendary and one and only Freda Payne.
Hi.
There she is.
Hi.
Screen just lit up, Miss Freda. How are you today? Thank you so much.
I'm fine. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, and all of your people have shown up for you today. I don't know if you heard in the intro, but we have the Emotions are doing their fan page and sending love to you.
And I love them.
All of the Melba Moore, so many are just
I love the Emotions. I love Melba.
That's right. And I always like to start off with asking, what's your positivity, especially now?
What's my positivity?
What's your positivity? What's your positive medicine?
My positive medicine is it's gonna be all right.
Come on now.
And also keep the faith. And don't, I guess, follow all the rules. When I go out, I wear my mask.
That's right.
And I sanitize. I do all the things that you're supposed to do. And I stay home a lot, but then I do go out. I go to the grocery store and drugstore and all that kind of stuff. And occasionally I've been starting, as of the last couple of weeks, I've been starting to go out and meet some friends, just like maybe 5 or 6 people or a couple of people at a restaurant. And it's all dining outdoors right now.
Gotcha.
And of course we have maintained distance, from other tables.
Yeah. Hey, y'all, learn by example, y'all. You heard it. That's right. I mean, there are ways to do this, And Miss Freda, take us back. And like I like to say, you're from Detroit native. Nate Watts, another Detroit native bass player, he sends his Detroit love to you. But what Detroit, we know New Orleans, we know Memphis as music capitals, but Detroit has a big music history as well, even before Motown, if I'm not. Yeah.
Well, Detroit has had a music history that really goes way back to the 40s. And we used to have, I don't know what they have now because I haven't lived in Detroit in a few years, but I go back occasionally. But Detroit had a lot of nightclubs back in the day. There was the Flame Show Bar. There were other clubs. There was Rooster Tail. There was even across the river in Windsor, Ontario, that we had the Elmwood Casino. We had Baker's Keyboard Lounge.
and a lot of great jazz artists came out of Detroit as well.
See there, yeah. And growing up around that, was your family? I know your sister Sherry. Much respect to Sherry Payne.
Yes.
As well. So were you born into a musical like parents or musical family, grandparents? And
not at all.
Really?
No. My mother wasn't an artist at all, and then my father, Fred Payne, he wasn't a musical artist. Matter of fact, he worked at Ford's.
Okay.
You know, he worked at Ford's. As a matter of fact, all the men in my family, when I grew up, they all worked in the car factories.
Okay.
You know, mainly Ford's.
Right.
And even my grandfather, he worked at Ford's. So I had an uncle. He died when I was 9 years old.
Okay.
And that was my Uncle Johnny. That was my mother's brother. That was the only sibling she had.
Okay.
And Uncle Johnny, although he wasn't a singer or anything, but he used to tap dance. I never witnessed him tap dancing. My mother used to tell me the stories. She said he would go to the local nightclubs and he would tap dance, and they wouldn't hire him, but then he would tap dance and they would throw money at him. And then he would bring the money home and he would throw it on the bed and say, "Okay, sis, what do you want? You take what you want."
Look at that. Look at that. See that family sticking together.
Yeah. And also I attribute him to my early training. You know, they say you can start training babies in the womb, you know, by listening to certain kinds of music.
Yeah.
And when I was like 4 years old, he had a vast collection of all kinds of music, mostly jazz. He had Duke Ellington, Lionel Hampton. I think he had some B.B. King.
Okay.
Also had classical music, which was unusual for a Black family back then.
Okay.
He had Rachmaninoff, Serge Rachmaninoff.
Okay.
He had Tchaikovsky. He had Bach. And he would play this stuff, and I would put my ear right up to the speaker, and I would listen, and that, I guess that went into my brain, you know, that went into my spirit.
Yeah.
And then when I was about 5 or 6 years old, my mother started me taking piano lessons.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so when I started taking piano lessons, that was also a continuation of the let's say the classical movements. You know, the piano exercises, the finger exercises, Matthew and all that. Gotcha. And then when I got to be around 12, I would go downtown and I would go to the local music store, and my mother, let's say sometimes I would go down there because I had to buy a book for my piano teacher would want me to buy another book to continue my piano lessons. And when I got down there, I started checking out the other stuff, and I saw Gershwin, Cole Porter, Rodgers and Hart. And so I would take my little allowance and I would buy, let's say, a Rodgers and Hart book or a Cole Porter book. And then I started playing those songs, and I started learning those songs.
See there?
And that's when I started to educate myself musically. And that's basically how I became involved and also at the age of 12, I would go to bed. Let's say when I would go to bed at night, I wouldn't go to bed right away, you know, and I had a radio that was right up above my head. I had like a twin bed, and then there was a radio right up above my head, like that, a little small. And I would listen to it real quiet, you know, and I would listen to this station that played like Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, Julie London, Chris Connor, June Christie. And I would listen to these, and Chet Baker and Dizzy Gillespie, and it turned me on. It spoke to me. It spoke to my spirit. And when I was 13, I was able to obtain an album by Miles Davis, and that was Sketches of Spain. And that sent me into euphoria.
I bet it did.
That was like, and then from that point on, I started listening to other musical compositions like All Blues and other compositions that he would put out. I became a fan of Miles Davis and Dizzy Gillespie
And how old were you then? You said about 13 now.
13.
And it
I was a jazz fan when other kids my age were into like Jackie Wilson. I like Jackie Wilson too, by the way.
Right.
You know, Elvis Presley.
Yeah.
I liked a lot of the R&B artists, you know.
And something about that style, that jazz, that feel just started, like you said, it just started speaking to you. You know, it's ageless. You know,
I like R&B. You know, R&B's been good to me. I like pop.
Yeah.
But I love jazz as well. Whereas some people, they just like R&B or hip hop or rap, and that's it. They don't go beyond those borders.
Yeah.
And,
like you said, it's important as much as we can, and I'm glad I was raised that way as well. We never knew what music was going to come on in the house. We never knew, you know, and even like fast forwarding, I pass it on to my sons. So now I see that whole thing of being able to, I like that. Oh, rumba, yeah. They're 14 years old talking about rumba or
rumba,
just different kind. I think it's some magic in that. So is that the time of your life when you started to really progress into the jingles and the commercials locally? Is that around 13 years old as well?
Well, no, by that time I was 16, I believe.
Okay.
And what happened with me, at the age of 14, I auditioned for a radio show. It was nationally syndicated, and it was in anybody that knows Detroit, they know of the Fisher Building. It was located in the penthouse of the Fisher Building, and the station was WJR, and the show was called Don Large's Make Way for Youth. Now, this was mostly predominantly white.
Okay.
Now, there was like me, Ursula Walker, and a girl named Carmen Mathis. We were the only, you know, girls of color in the this was like a choral group, and then the rest of it were Caucasian people, and they had a big band. It was live in the studio, and it was broadcasted every Saturday at 2:00 for an hour. Make Way for Youth. So I had to audition for that. And I had to be a good sight reader. That was one of the main qualifications. Now, see,
that piano lesson kicked in, and all your whole.
But I learned a lot of my musical knowledge. Of course, I had the piano lessons and I have to accredit Ruth Ann Johnson, who was my piano teacher back then. But I had music classes in school. See, back then you could take a music course in school. I mean, in elementary school and middle school, you know, and then in high school. And I always took my music classes. I took, so we would learn all the, you know, we learn all about the chording, and we learn how to sight read. And I remember one semester we worked on the opera of Porgy and Bess.
Look at that. Okay.
You know, and that was quite an accomplishment. And then we learned, and then we did some other requiems like.
So now, when this happened, now your name and your sound, your voice is getting out there through the jingles, right? So how did the connection between the jingles, or the progression rather, from the jingle of the jingle singing, and then you ended up in New York auditioning for another show? Is that how that happened, or please?
Well, it was just a progression, and then of course. There was a period, let's say I did Make Way for Youth. Oh, and then I won talent contest.
Gotcha.
It was on when I was 13 years old.
Okay.
There was a TV show that was in Detroit, and it came on every Saturday as well. And it was called Ed McKenzie's Dance Hour. Now, Ed McKenzie has patterned themselves after Dick Clark's American Bandstand.
Gotcha. Okay.
And so they would have teenagers dancing to the latest, you know, hit songs, pop songs, or whatever, maybe some R&B.
Yeah.
And they would also feature a talent contest, as well as they would invite a headliner, a guest artist to come on and perform. And the guest artist would be like a Sammy Davis Jr., like Della Reese.
Wow.
You know, like Four Freshmen, you know, stuff like that. Whoever was playing at one of the local Detroit night spots.
Right.
They would be invited to appear on the show.
Okay.
And so I auditioned for the talent contest. This was on, they only featured like 4 acts, and it was within a segment, of like 15 minutes or something like that. And I auditioned, and the funny thing is I auditioned originally as being a dancer.
Okay.
And they accepted me as a dancer. Okay. And then when I got home, I said, Mama, I don't think I want to dance. I think I want to sing.
Sing.
And so we called them back, and that we told them that I had changed my genre. I wanted to sing instead. And so they told me to come in, and I sang, and they said, okay. And I won the contest.
Look at
and that was the first time. And then 6 months later, they brought me back. I won the second time.
Come on now.
Yeah, so I won my little trophy.
And that's right on, right on.
The first time I was on, Sammy Davis was the celebrity star.
Look at that. The first time you're on, Sammy Davis is on the same. Yeah.
He was on.
Did you all get a chance to communicate at that?
Oh, did we communicate? We took a picture together, and I still have it. It's black and white. I still have that picture to this day.
Yeah.
And I'm holding my trophy. Here we are.
Now, you know what I was reading, is that when he made reference that you reminded him of Lena Horne in some ways?
Well, no, that wasn't Sammy. That was Duke Ellington.
Excuse me. Gotcha.
That was Duke Ellington. and I met Duke Ellington. I'll tell you how that happened. I was 17, and what happened was we had a neighbor. His name was Alan Early Jr. He was a top criminal attorney in Detroit.
Okay.
And he was my good friends with my parents.
Okay.
Socially. And so Alan, was crazy about me too. So he was at a cocktail party where he met Mercer Ellington. So he started telling Mercer about me.
Gotcha.
And he said, you got to hear her sing. And so we invited Mercer Ellington to come to my house, to our house.
Wow.
And he came, we invited him, and I stood up in the living room and I sang. And he said, wow, he said, you're really good. He said, I want my dad to hear you. So at that time, he was with his dad, because his dad, they were playing at a theater in Detroit, the whole band.
Yeah.
And the Duke was staying at the Gotham Hotel. That was the Black Hotel in Detroit.
Okay.
And so he said, the only problem is we're leaving the next morning to go to Pittsburgh, but if you can, if your mother can bring you down to meet Duke and sing for him, he says, I can arrange it. So he arranged it, and that happened. And so Duke had a piano in his suite, and he played and I sang. And when I finished singing, he turned around and he said, you know what? You remind me of Lena Horne.
Wow.
And then he said, I want to hear you sing with the band. He said, but we're leaving in the morning. And if we're going to Pittsburgh, we have a gig at the Holiday House in Pittsburgh. And he said, if somebody, your mother or your father or somebody can drive you down to Pittsburgh, I'd be more than happy to bring you up to sing with the band. And so that's what happened.
Now, you know what, if you have a chance to look back on these comments after this, these people are throwing hands. They're saying they got chills. They're doing the much respect sign. I mean, seriously, we're talking about 13 years old, Sammy Davis Jr. enters your life. Then we talk after that, Sir Duke himself, Duke Ellington, now is part of your life's journey. Yes, so it's no doubt that you had become to be groomed as that all-around entertainer, not just singer, but dancer, performer, singer. This is the camp that the legends, these two you just named just so far, that's the camp do you see it that way as well? That the multi-talented started at this young age of understanding that?
I kind of look at it as God blessing me and putting me in this position. It was, when I think about it, it wasn't anything I did.
Okay.
It was people around me.
Wow.
It was people around me who believed in me and who thought more of me than I thought of myself.
Gotcha.
I was a very shy person. I wasn't pushy.
Gotcha.
I kind of like, my sister was the one that was outgoing and like, you know, you ever see some kids, they come and say, hi, do you want to hear me sing?
I got you. Yeah, that was my brother and sister, and I was the introvert. You're right.
Yeah, they come out and show off, you know. and so I was the one that Sherry would be out there in the front, you know, like, you know, with you know, loving everybody, and I would like stay in the background. They would invite me to, you know, to come into their realm, but I was like that. I felt like, I don't know, it's just, maybe I just had this feeling of shyness, of not being accepted.
Yes, I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I understand
and
that.
Kids go through all kinds of changes. Yeah. So anyway.
But now, did Matt Ferguson Matt Ferguson, was he one of the ones that helped bring that, or kind of, you know, tell me about that experience?
Mack Ferguson was a man that became a friend and a mentor to me. He was a musician. He played the piano. He accompanied me. Mm-hmm. And he played mainly in like cocktail lounges.
Okay.
You know.
Yeah.
And he just sort of like took an interest in me, and we started rehearsing, and he started saying, Freda, you got to learn as many standards as you can, because that's what's going to sustain you if you want to be a professional singer. Mm-hmm. And that's what I did. So it was Mack Ferguson who was in that car, and I'm with my mother, and when we drove to Pittsburgh to meet up with Duke Ellington, so that I could get up and sing, and which he did. And also I had another experience while we were in Pittsburgh.
Okay.
And I got to meet Billy Strayhorn.
Look at that.
Yeah, I didn't at that time, I didn't realize who he really was. You know, I had heard the name, but it was like, then I realized later on just how important he was. Mm-hmm. But I got to meet him, shake his hand.
Come on now, you know, A Train is just one of the many classics.
A Train, honey, Lush Life.
Lush, there you go.
Lush Life, that's one of his signature tunes.
Yes.
And you know what, he wrote that when he was a teenager.
Really?
They say he wrote that when he was 16, but it's been argued as to whether he was 16 or 18, but he was definitely in his teens.
Exactly.
And the lyrics have the kind of sophistication where you would say, how would a 16-year-old have that kind of sophistication to write a song like this?
Exactly. Well, you know, we're talking about, if you could give us an insight to that 10-year contract offer from the Duke.
Okay, I did my thing. I got to sing with the band, and then we drove home, and then I'm trying to remember whether he sent a 10-year contract. He mailed a contract to the house.
Okay.
And it was for 10 years.
Uh-huh.
And my mother read it, and then our friend, Alan Early, he was an attorney, he read it, and he said, you know what? A contract is to be negotiated. He says, one thing is 10 years, this takes you beyond your 21st birthday.
Oh, okay.
So that means this contract should only be for maybe, let's say, 5 years.
Yeah. And
on top of that, I would have to have a guardian, and my mother would probably have to go on the road with me. Okay. I was only 17. I was underage.
Gotcha.
And I'd be on the road with all these men.
I got you.
And when I was 17, I looked like I was 25.
Okay.
Because by the time I was 12, I was fully developed.
Right on.
I was fully developed. When I was 12, people would say, my mother, let's say these men would be looking at me and I'd be 12. My mother would say, I don't know what you're looking at. She's just 12.
Hey, Mom was right there in the country.
Right there.
Mom, that's it.
But she had me psyched out. You know, she had me psyched out. So I stayed a good girl till I was
right. And you know what? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Nothing wrong with that. But so now let's go into the time with we're going to add now another legend into your life, Pearl Bailey.
Oh.
So now this is a few years later now, right? You're in New York.
No, my dear. No, my dear.
What is that?
I met Pearl at 17, and that's when I joined the Pearl Bailey Review. See, a lot of stuff happened while I was still 17. A lot. The Duke Ellington, the Pearl Bailey, I was 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please tell us the
It reminds me of that song,
What?
What's that song? Da, 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 da. It was a very good year.
It was a very good year.
That's right. Very good
17 was your year.
That's it. When I was 17, da, 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 da. They ought to write a song. Do the same melody, but change it for a woman.
Come on,
I heard somebody told me that there were lyrics for a woman, but they were never recorded.
You know what? Now you've given me a mission.
There was rather. And a friend of mine who's a wonderful musician himself, Frank Owens, back in New York.
Frank Owens.
He told me that.
See there? So now Pearl Bailey, and that was what was the Pearl Bailey experience?
Okay. Alan Early enters the picture again.
Who's that?
Alan Early, attorney Alan Early Jr.,
okay.
Our dear friend of my parents and our neighbor. And he was at a cocktail party. Yet this is another cocktail party.
At 17.
Everybody having to drink.
Gotcha.
And Alan met a guy by the name of Bob Bailey.
Okay.
Bob Bailey was the road manager for the touring company of the Pearl Bailey Review.
Okay.
Now he's not related to Pearl, but they just had the same last name.
Right.
So he spoke with Bob and he says, I want you to hear my friend's daughter, who's a very good singer. And what happened was Bob told him that one of their singers in the back, the background singers, had left the show. Okay. And that they were looking to audition to get another singer, an alto singer for the group, for the background singers. Mm-hmm. And so that's when Alan said, oh, maybe this might be something for Freda, because I had just graduated from high school. Okay. And so Alan arranged through Bob Bailey for me to audition. So when I got to the audition, it was at a theater. And so when I got to the audition, there was a lot of people. There was several people there, and they were all professional singers, older than me. Right. And so I auditioned. It was a double audition. It was for two things. It was to be a dancer at the Moulin Rouge in Las Vegas, the chorus line. And it was to also be with Pearl Bailey as one of her background singers. Gotcha. Well, I won both. I was booked.
Go ahead.
As a dancer in the chorus line at the Moulin Rouge. And then I got the gig to tour with Pearl Bailey. So it was almost like the next day. Yeah. They put me on the bus.
Look at that.
And I was working with Pearl Bailey.
Now, I know that had to have been a wow moment.
That was a wow moment, because it was like, here I am, a Detroiter. I had never, really had gone out. I mean, I'd gone to other places. We had been out of town. I'd been out of town to other places, but I'd never worked out of town. Right. And getting on the bus and working with Pearl Bailey. Yeah. And then it was a wonderful, it was a mind-blowing experience.
Come on. And I know you mentioned, Ms. Freda, earlier that you didn't look at it, meeting with Sammy and then progressing to Duke and now with Pearl, it really didn't hit you. It hit you as that people were helping you, or people noticed things about you, and then they were, assisting you in your journey. And I would like to add to that also, that what they were helping was that incredible talent at such a young age that was thread through there in between, and from those nights of laying there listening to Ella and the radio and things that you started putting together, and now we're with Pearl Bailey, and that's like, so now when this journey with Pearl, how long was this working?
It wasn't a long tour, but it was curtailed later on. I mean, after a few weeks, it was curtailed because she got sick.
Okay.
And it was just temporary, but she got sick, so the show had to, we were at the Howard Theater when she got sick.
Okay.
And so that's when we had to like, kind of like shut down temporarily.
Okay.
And then that was it. But we did, okay, my first theater with Pearl was in Cincinnati.
Okay.
And it was at a, it was always theaters, large theaters. And then from Cincinnati, we went to Harlem, New York, to the Apollo Theater.
Mm-hmm.
And that was my first time working at the Apollo Theater.
Come on now. Now, was it everything that everybody is told it's like, that has that never experienced it, that energy, that like, uh-oh, they're going to like me or they're going to hate me? They do.
Well, I knew, I was with Pearl Bailey. So, and she had Louis Belson, she was married to Louis Belson.
Right. There you go.
His big band. So I knew they were, that didn't enter my mind at all. Cause I said, this is Pearl Bailey. Pearl Bailey was a superstar.
Exactly.
She was a big deal. A star, a nightclub star, a media star. She was just everything.
Everything.
She was all of that.
That's right.
And I knew they were going to love her. So.
And now that camp now has become, and from there, is this the time when your first recording contract or during this time after that, your first album? Please tell me about that experience even saying I didn't want to be a singer or didn't know that singing was part of my thing when I was younger. Now you're starting your first record deal. Right.
And also I have to add on that note about the Apollo.
Okay.
That wouldn't be the last time I was at the Apollo. The next time I went to it was the next time I went to the Apollo. This was after I had Band of Gold and I think.
Yes.
Yeah, I headlined the Apollo.
Come on now.
I headlined the Apollo. This was early 70s.
Right on.
And my opening acts were the OJs,
mm-hmm.
Edwin Starr, and those are the ones I remember. I can't remember the other ones, but it was like I was the headliner for a week.
Yes.
So that was the beginning. And also with Duke, that wasn't it with Duke, going to Pittsburgh. I wound up later. You know how he got me?
How?
He got me years later.
Okay.
He had already passed away, but he got me years later when I got booked to star in Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Ladies. Yeah. And I wound up doing like 6 companies.
Go ahead.
Of Duke Ellington's Sophisticated Ladies. I originally got a call from Donald McHale, who was the original, he conceived and choreographed it. Mm-hmm. And this was in probably 1974. And he called me about would I be interested?
Yeah.
And he said, I'm thinking of you because I know you did a jazz album back in 93.
Yeah.
No. He said he had heard that I was also a jazz singer before I did Band of Gold.
Band of Gold, right.
And I said, yes, I would love it.
Yeah.
And he said, we don't know whether it's going to be a book show or just a review. We're working on that now. It's in workshop with Gregory Hines and Judith Jameson. And I said, yeah. So anyway, a couple of years went by. I didn't hear anything from him. I figured, well, because I was busy anyway by that time.
Right.
And next thing I know, I'm reading in Jet, Phyllis Hyman to star in Sophisticated Ladies and on Broadway. And I said, okay, that's all right. Because I knew that Phyllis was a fabulous, wonderful jazz singer.
That's right.
And I got to meet her early in her career.
Yeah.
Yeah. I knew she was going to be great.
Oh my goodness. So tell me, you know what? It's like I said, it's no way to fill the Freda Payne details and episodes in this short time. But I know that also in this present time that we're all dealing with, you heard me mention about the protests that are out now.
Yeah.
You have a standard protest song that I think it was also was it your second number one? Bring the Boys Home?
It was my second gold record and second big hit, Bring the Boys Home.
Bring the Boys Home. Now
Bring the Boys Home was everybody looked at it as being a protest song.
Okay.
Because it was like, at the time, the Republicans were in office.
Right.
And they kind of freaked out over it because they felt that this was telling soldiers to just, put down your weapons and come home.
Yeah.
And they didn't want to hear that. but
Okay.
it didn't. It was different. It was more like it spoke to the hearts and the souls of soldiers who were not only alive and fighting for us over there, but also the ghost of soldiers who had passed on. It's like bring them back alive. Can't you see them marching across the sky? All the soldiers who have died, trying to get home.
Come on now.
You know,
Come on
they're
now.
just trying to get home.
That's right.
Bring the boys home. Bring them back alive. Bring them back alive.
Mm-hmm.
And when this record came out, about 2 weeks after it was released, we got the record company Invictus. They got a telegram from Washington, D.C. saying that my record, Bring the Boys Home, could not or will not be played in South Vietnam due to the fact that it was giving comfort to the enemy.
Look at that. What went through your mind when you got that news?
I was like, someone had actually pre-warned me that could happen. And I didn't believe them.
Okay.
I didn't believe him.
Okay.
He said, Freda, you know what? And this friend of mine, he was my road manager and my confidant and a very spiritual, very psychic person. And he said, Freda, he says, don't be surprised if you get some flack from the Republican Party when this record comes out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I didn't believe it.
I got you. But you know what? That speaks to the power of artistry, especially in times like these as well. Whenever there was something of a protest or a statement, somebody wrote a song about it, somebody made a movie about it. What can you give our artists to it? Because we have a camp, an artist camp that are watching today as well. And one of their biggest monikers right now is developing their voice as young artists. Mm-hmm. What can you say to them right now about the importance of using your artistry to say what's on your mind for the world?
I would say that I would tell them to keep on doing what they're doing. And if they're thinking of writing a song that has protest overtones to it or hardcore protest,
right. Mm-hmm.
Keep on doing it, because this is what's happening now. I think this is a moment in time in the universe where God is speaking to the young people.
Come on,
the millennials.
Got you.
That it's time. It's sort of like it's a movement. Mm-hmm. And I know that we all know about Black Lives Matter.
That's right.
That's part of it as well. But it's a movement, and it comes a time when something has to change. It's like an earthquake.
Come on.
When the earth builds up so much pressure in the bowels of the ground, you know, and then all of a sudden, one day, unannounced, all of a sudden, it erupts.
Yeah.
It's like a volcano. And that George Floyd,
Ooh.
that was
Come on.
That tipped it.
Come on.
That tipped it.
That's right.
That tipped it.
Like when you cook with,
because it showed the world the injustice. And it's sort of like, although we know this has been happening for years, and it goes back, and before we had all these cell phones where we can take movies, you know, videos and pictures like people are doing now. Don't you know it was happening more? It always had been happening.
Yes.
It always had been happening.
That's right.
It's just that now they're being caught.
Come on now.
They're being caught. And it's the young people. It's like when you see these protesters out there, and even the rioters, but I say the protesters, you don't see, they're not people in their 50s and 60s and 70s. These are millennials. They're out there. These are and they say, and a child shall lead them.
There you go. There you go.
And a child shall lead them. And I look at them like that as to me, they're still children.
I got you. And you know what you said is so powerful right now. And one of the things I always like to say, Ms. Freda, on this show is my generation, I'm 55. So my generation and even the generation before me, it's important, I believe, to leave our gate open for communication like what you're saying right now. That's what you're saying, that we need to hear the voice and of our younger generation out here that's right now. Hear what's on their mind. Hear what they're angry about, what the confusement's about, especially our artists. So co-signing on the wisdom you just gave, I believe is so necessary for a change to continue, or for the attempt of a change to continue.
Well, you see, the young people now, they have seen so much.
Come on.
They have been educated so much. They have read they've known of the history of segregation, like the civil rights movement. Because I'm a child, I came up in the time when before the civil rights bill was passed. Although I grew up in Detroit, where there was no segregation per se, but we all knew that there was a difference, and we all experienced racial disparities in Detroit. You know, that we knew that there was a certain group of white people didn't like us. That there were certain areas you couldn't live in. Like, for instance, like in Detroit, there was an area called Grosse Pointe. Okay. It was all white. Okay. I remember being with my mother, being 12 and 13, and she would take me to this resale dress shop in Grosse Pointe. Okay. Where she said, "Oh, this is where all the rich white women take their, the dresses after they've worn them maybe once or twice, and they put them up for sale, and that's sometimes we would go there, to buy a cocktail dress or something." And I remember they say the only Black people you'd see in Grosse Pointe would be the people who were the housekeepers and the maids and all that. See there? And you know what, while you're just saying what you're saying again now, and once again, thank you so much. You're dropping gems right now. And once again, when you look back on these comments, so many around the world are agreeing with this. And you hear the stories of Hollywood, especially in what we call either the era before myself, the pave makers, the door openers, where Michael gave it up to Sammy Davis Jr., Michael Jackson, and so many others who, like myself, who understand the importance of giving the respect that's due, and the importance of giving the flowers that's due. And that's another reason why it's such an honor to have you and so many of the others who joined us here to talk about their journey, because it must be told. We know of the groundbreaking that you and your predecessors, Bill Cosby, Sammy Davis, and so many others, that you all did for us as entertainers, as artists, but then what you did for us as a society, as a people, okay? When you hear that, and when you're given that, I'm gonna say accolade, when you're given that respect, like so many of your associates have been given over their career, what does that do? Miss Freda, what does that give? What feeling does that give you to know that you were part of making such a change in the life of artistry and the life of people? Well, it amazes me. It kind of makes me feel like, oh, wow. I was in the front, like we were, like you say, back then, I was in the front line. They call it, we were the pioneers walking, taking the punches. And like with John Lewis, yes, Congressman John Lewis, he was really in the front line, and he almost sacrificed his life. Yes, he almost lost his life for what he believed in, and those freedom riders and those people marching back in Selma. I mean, that was like they had. I mean, they had a lot of courage, and they were willing to give up their life. That's right. And they had a lot of courage. I had the experience, and I did experience racism to its extreme back when I was 17. And this is when my mother and I and Mack Ferguson drove from Detroit to Las Vegas to join Duke Ellington. Wow. because he was performing at the Riviera Hotel in the lounge.
Okay.
And so he had invited me to come with my mother, and that he said, to come and possibly get up and join him there.
Yeah.
We arrived in Vegas, and after a 2.5-day drive, of course, we stopped different places and stayed in, motel or whatever.
Right.
We experienced racism on the way, where there were restaurants where we wanted to go in and get a bite to eat, or a sandwich or something to eat. And we couldn't eat in the restaurant. We had to just get it to take out.
Yeah.
And that was it. When we arrived in Vegas, it was like about 9 o'clock in the evening. I'll never forget it. I'm 17. We're driving down the strip, and I'm like in awe of all this neon.
Yeah.
It was like a neon circus, It's like, oh my God, look at that, look at that.
Right.
And so we were tired, and so we start saying, well, we better find a motel because we're really worn out, all the driving. And so the sign on the motel would say vacancy.
Okay.
Mack would go in, not me or my mother. Mack would go in, come back out. They say there's no vacancy. So then we moved on to the next one.
Right. Vacancy.
Mack goes in, comes out. They say there's no vacancy. At that time, I start thinking, what's wrong with him? There's something wrong with that. Maybe they don't want us to stay at that motel. The third motel, the same thing. So then Mack and we were like, what are we going to do? So we saw this man, this black man walking down the street. We stopped him and we got out of the car, and my mother and Max said, what's going on? We've been to several hotels and they all have vacancy out there. And why are they telling us that there's no vacancy? Right. And the man said, ma'am, don't you realize they don't allow us to stay here on the strip?
Look at that.
And so my mother said, oh no, but Duke Ellington is working here at the Riviera Hotel with his big band. Isn't he staying there? And the man said, oh no, ma'am, he can't stay there. He can work there. He said he's probably staying at the West Motel over on the west side in the Dust Bowl. That's what the west side was. They had a nickname for it. They called it the Dust Bowl back then.
Gotcha.
That name is since long gone.
Yeah.
But that's where all the black people lived.
Mm-hmm.
And sure enough, we got a payphone and called. And sure enough, Duke and the whole band they were all staying at the West Motel, owned by a black doctor by the name of Dr. Bell.
Go ahead.
And so we got rooms there too. we got our rooms there.
Wow. See, what kind of perspective does that put on it? The reality of someone who can say, firsthand of the stories we've heard or what we've read in a book or whatever. You're giving us that firsthand experience of that realism,
Right.
and the positive to me of that, Ms. Freda, is that you're here.
I'm here. But then when you think about it, this was like 1961. By 64, I was working on the strip with Larry Steele at the Thunderbird.
Okay.
Larry Steele's Smart Affairs at 64. And we stayed on the strip. We didn't stay in the Thunderbird Hotel, but we stayed in little bungalows on the strip.
Yeah.
Because they had signed the Civil Rights Bill by then. Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah. Please tell us that there is a story, a book, a movie, something about the Freda Payne story in the making.
Oh, well. I don't know about that, but
okay. Well,
if it gets serious, then I guess I'll have to have a hand in it.
There you go, right on.
The facts right.
That's the main thing. That's the main thing. Because like you said, a lot of times the stories can just go here. It gets their own thing.
Are you kidding? I mean, I've read stuff about me, even on Wikipedia, where they get stuff kind of like
exactly.
Or backwards, whatever.
You know what? But we can't close here because I'm getting this also as well, that you know, when I had the pleasure to speak with Joyce Bryant, who was a friend of my mother and father's for so many years. So growing up and hearing her stories as a beautiful Black woman within entertainment, okay?
Isn't she the one that had the silver hair?
That's Joyce Bryant, the voice. That's her. That's her.
Yeah, I used to read about her in Jet.
Yeah, Joyce Bryant, and to hear her stories growing up, and then also, you know, just and others who were able. I was able to hear their stories of the Black female gorgeousness, if sex symbol or what have you. When that started to happen, when we talk about stories, okay, of Freda Payne, was that a mind blow as well? Coming from the introvert that you said that we understand that introvert, you and I, then all of a sudden, you know, boom.
Well, my feeling of being introvert is, it's like you get this feeling like when somebody wants to like give me an award or bestow an honor on me, and I'm thinking, and the bigger the award or the more prestigious the honor,
yeah,
I always have this feeling like I'm not worthy.
I got you.
I don't deserve this. There are other people that deserve this more than me.
I understand. Yes, I totally understand.
And you know, but then there are other people who have the opposite. Yeah, that's right.
Which I guess we also combine. That's our siblings in a lot of ways. You know?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But you know what, you know, Miss Freda, I have to, hearing your story, and we're going to close out, but there's a lyric of one of my favorite, which I found out was also written by one of your very good friends, Artie. And,
Artie Butler.
Yes, but there's a lyric in that, there are a couple of lines in that song. And hearing your story, it speaks to that. And I'm talking about the song, the classic "Here's to Life," you know, Shirley Horn, but done by Joe Williams and so many others. But the line that says, "For there's no yes in yesterday,
that's
and
right.
Who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game,
I'm gonna play
for laughs, for life, for love. So here's to life and every joy it brings.
Yes.
Here's to life for dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered and all that's good gets better. Oh my goodness.
Did I tell you my story about Artie Butler and Here's to Life?
Yes, you did, but I know the Positivity Posse would love to hear it too.
Okay. I met Artie Butler back in 1992. Mm-hmm. And he happened to be, at the time, we lived in the same neighborhood. He was my neighbor. I lived on Blue Jay Way. He's on Doheny Drive.
Okay.
And so he invited me to his home, and he was in his living room, and he started playing this song. Yeah. It was Here's to Life. Yeah. And when he finished, I said, "Oh, Artie." He said, "What do you think?" I said, "That is gorgeous." I said, it's for a mature person."
Yes.
He said, "Well, Shirley Horn just recorded it in the studio, you know, and of course he was there." And he said, "And Joe Williams is going to do it on the Tonight Show this coming Friday night with Johnny Carson."
Right on.
And the next year, I did a one-woman show down at the Los Angeles Theater Center in the Tom Bradley Theater that in 93. Mm-hmm. And I included Here's to Life in my program. And it was recorded. So I recorded Here's to Life back in 93.
Oh, come on now. See there?
I still do the song. It's like, it's, you know, singers love that song. You know, you hear it all the time.
You see me doing this?
And no regrets. I still believe in chasing dreams and placing bets. And I have learned when all you give is all you get. So you give it all you've got. I had my share, I drank my fill. And even though I'm satisfied, I'm hungry still to see what's down beyond the road, beyond the hill, and do it all again. So here's to life and every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. Funny how the time just flies, how love can go from warm hellos to sad goodbyes and leave you with the memories you've memorized to keep your winters warm. And there's no yes in yesterday. And who knows what tomorrow brings or takes away. As long as I'm still in the game, I wanna play for life, for laughs, for love. So here's to life.
Yes.
And every joy it brings. Here's to life, to dreamers and their dreams. May all your storms be weathered and all that's good get better. Here's to life. Here's to love. Here's to you.
Miss Freda, how you gonna come on my show and have me crying? That ain't even right. Incredible. I was not expecting that. That was
well, you kind of led me into it, you know. You kind of like, like, I felt like, okay, why not?
Oh man, thank you so much. And that just goes back into that other whole thing of the power of interpretation and in song and delivery. And y'all, we used to call that back in Memphis flat-footed. You just sing there, no band, no nothing, and that's what it's all about. Miss Freda, what an honor. Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Listen, forthcoming, my last project, which has not been released or is not out there yet.
Okay.
Is my I did 4 duets. I've got 5 tunes in the can.
Go
and
ahead.
I probably might add to it to make it a full CD. And that's my duet with Johnny Mathis and with I didn't tell you this already, did I?
Please, the positivity doesn't hurt.
I did a duet with Dee Dee Bridgewater, and we did Moanin' and Doodlin'.
Go ahead.
And then I did a duet with Kenny Lattimore.
Oh, wow.
And we did that Nat King Cole tune, Let There Be Love. And then I did a duet with Kurt Elling.
Okay.
Who is like one of your foremost Grammy Award winning jazz vocalists.
Yes, he is.
Yeah,
yes, he is. Hey, well, I know they are honored to be a part, just like we have been honored today of being you sharing your journey, you sharing your positivity, you sharing your life with us. And we just thank you so much. Much respect.
Thank you for reaching out to me and inviting me.
You got it. You got it. Much love and much happiness, Miss Freda Payne.
Well, thank you.
All right. And thank you for being our newest member of the Positivity Posse from around the world.
And keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Keep on doing what you're doing.
Thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Love you now. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
You all, you know what? That was fantastic. That was fantastic. And so many unspoken. See, that's when you know it hits you to the core, when you can't find the words. You dig? You can feel it, but you can't find the words. And that's that magic, that realness of an interpreter of music and song, a delivery specialist, you know, that comes from the heart, that gives it to you straight from their soul. And this was fantastic. Positivity Posse, thank you again for taking your time and joining us today on the Victor Brooks Show, Facebook Live quarantine series, and all of the Positivity Posse from around the world. 17 at 7 in France, the Jobim Network there in Brazil, the musicians council there in Germany, and on, and even here. Thank you, Michigan. Thank you, my family down there in Huntsville, Alabama, Oakwood College. Thank you, Memphis, Tennessee. Thank you for joining us here today. Thank you so much. And Sister Lorella, thank you for joining us, Lorella Cargyle, and so many others. Clifton, The Emotions, everybody who tuned in for this today. Whew, there it is. Next Sunday, 1:00 p.m. The Victor Brooks Show is so proud. I got to tell you who we hitting you back to back with. Next Sunday, we have Shirley Jones of the incredible Jones Girls that's going to come and give her journey, tell her story of the changes that the Jones Girls made in this game called entertainment and music and artistry, and she's going to give us her sense of positivity for our positivity posse as well, so that we can just take it on to the next week, y'all. I hope you picked up these gems today from the legendary Freda Payne. She was dropping those gems, and then she broke out in song to put the cherry on the cake of what it's all about, of that Freda Payne-ness that we all have loved and respected for so many years. And like I always say, come on back. Come get some of this positivity on you, y'all. Take a bath in it. Take a shower in it. Scuba dive in it. If you want to just skinny dip in it, just get in that pool of positivity. And when you come out of that, sprinkle it on somebody else, as many people as you can, because that's what it's all about. On behalf of my brother Chris Brooks, my sister Julie McKnight, and the incredible, talented, and beautiful Wendy Vaughn, join us next time, next Sunday, 1:00 p.m. on the Victor Brooks Show, Facebook Live Quarantine Series.